All right, so the Trump train is rolling into Arizona. I'm really hoping that he is going to respond to some of these insults that they've been slinging at him all week at the DNC. Hopefully, he has something to say in regards to that. I'm sure being in Arizona and this being a border town, he's probably going to talk a lot about immigration and his policies going forward. So go ahead and see what they have to say so far.
Great visit. He spoke with over 100 AMO, CBPO, and Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook every single one of their hands. He listened to every single one of their concerns, and he acted on that. November 19th, 2023, President Trump was in Edinburgh, Texas, serving National Guardsmen, DPS officers, and a few off-duty Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook over 200 people's hands and listened to what they had to say. These are the rank and file. That's why that wall is successful. He listened to the men and women that were on the front lines on exactly what needed to be on that wall. He listened to what they have to say. Contrast that with Kamala Harris, and nobody can say that I didn't try to work with her. I met with her transition team.
Yeah.
I told her transition team exactly what would happen if they got rid of his policies. We suggested policies to her within her parameters, and she refused to listen. I met with Secretary Mayorkas, again, trying to work with this administration. I supported Secretary Mayorkas' confirmation. It was a big mistake that would never happen again. But in conveying to him, again, the policies that would actually work within their parameters, Kamala Harris completely ignored those policies. She claims that she wants a humane, safe border. Yet what she's given us is absolute chaos. We had a safe border. She could have implemented policies. She refused to do this. This election is going to come down to policies. And when you compare President Trump's policies, it doesn't matter. Economic policies, foreign policy, border security policy, it doesn't matter. You compare those policies side by side, and he wins every day.
I'm wondering what the t-shirt in the back is, what they're holding.
That's why we have to have somebody in the White House that is going to listen to the women and men that know what they're talking about, that are on the ground, like President Trump did before and like he will do again. President Trump will be back in the White House, and we will secure this border. Thank you, President.
All right. So there you have it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Downs. I'm the sheriff here in Cochise County, Arizona here, and also the chairman for National Sheriff Association for Border Security. Let me just say, on behalf of America's sheriffs, behalf of my good citizens here and all those who wear a badge, thank you, President Trump, for coming here. We appreciate you. It's good seeing you again also. I will say this. My community's tired. My community's frustrated. Over the last 3.5 years, what we've dealt in this county when it comes to crime, the policies that have failed this country, the policies that have failed our citizens, and the tragedies that my neighbors are addressing silently because nobody's listening. Over the last 31 months here in Cochise County, to see the real impact of a community, we have booked 3,762 people in my county jail for border-related crimes. These are not immigration issues. These are border-related crimes up to double-digit murders. It's cost my county $12.5 million. I get $0 from the federal government on that. When President Trump took office, 6 years ago, you probably never heard much about fentanyl. President Trump's last year in office in 2020, there was a little 2 million pills seized in Arizona. Last year, there was 111 million fentanyl pills seized in Arizona.
Wow.
You wonder where the epidemic's coming from. It's our cartels who have been allowed to commit these crimes. And I'll say this, thanks to 51% of Congress, we have cut our DEA budgets in this country. We have less DEA agents in Arizona than we ever had before, and we lead the nation with fentanyl. I will say this, here's the community touch, our neighbors. These mountains right behind me here, we had a Border Patrol agent attacked early in the morning by 2 migrants, came across the border illegally, tried to cut his throat. Months later, had a deputy tried to interdict a smuggler at 100 miles an hour, who met President Trump this morning, almost killed. We called the chaplain because we thought he was leaving us. The impact we saw on that. The river behind you, we had the cartels trying to kidnap my deputies, my border team, to torture them. We had the cartel come across the border early mornings to kidnap and kill one of my deputies because they're allowed to think that way. They're allowed to think that way. My deputies, troopers, agents, and officers.
It makes it sound like Kamala is the president. Border Patrol supported the bipartisan border bill in the Senate. Yeah, of course, with Trump being there, they're going to do the whole border czar thing and throw her under the bus, obviously, because he wants to get elected.
Officers in this county have endured more harm by the hands of the cartels, and no one is addressing them except local law enforcement and our agents and our troopers. I will say this as I close out. America's sheriffs have stood strong on the voice to secure our borders. We have tried everything to meet with President Biden and Vice President Harris, the border czar.
See?
They are the first, this is the first president administration in modern day that has never met with one America's sheriff to address border.
And JD Vance just came out, I don't know, an hour ago and said that they didn't support that bipartisan border bill because there were other things thrown into it that they did not agree with.
That's a shame. And you wonder why we don't have engagement, prioritization, and that's why we're suffering this country. When President Trump was president, I was at the White House more than you can think of. He was always there for us. I can assure you, Mr. President, this community and our law enforcement professionals will never give up hope. To us, hope is confidence. Hope is commitment. Hope is courage. And your visit today renews our hope here. Thank you, Mr. President, for being here.
All right. Is he next? All right, there you go. Bringing out Trump.
So thank you very much, everybody. It's a very sad time for this country in many ways. You had a candidate. I was no fan of Joe Biden, but the way he was taken out was a coup. He got 14 million votes, and the person running now got none. She was disgraced. She was figured out by the Democrat voters. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one out of approximately 22 people that were running for the Democrat nomination. She never even made it to Iowa. Beautiful place, Iowa.
Okay.
She didn't. Plenty of people did. And Biden got 14 million votes. She got no votes, and now she's running against us. The good news is I think we're winning in the polls based on what I'm seeing. And after the debate,
I looked at those polls yesterday, and most of them are showing that he is not winning. I don't know why he keeps saying that. He said that yesterday, too, when I looked it up. He's not. He's winning in a few. I think Fox News had him in the lead yesterday when I was looking at it. There was a few others, but the majority of the polls are showing that Kamala is still in the lead.
Winning by...
It's not a coup. She's popular. They pretty much have a conspiracy that Biden was forced to step down. He didn't actually want to step down. I know they're trying to paint the image that he's stepping down because he wants the next generation to be in power and he's passing the torch and all this blah, 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 blah. But the picture that they're trying to paint is that he was pretty much forced.
Many points, as you know, against Biden. They went in to see him. They said, you're losing. You're not going to win. You can't win. We're going to get you out. It was a coup of an American president. And it was done with anger, and he's more angry than anybody. And again, I'm no fan of his...
Lying is his MO. Yeah, they're both a bunch of liars.
I think he was...
Politicians.
Perhaps the worst president. He was the worst president, largely because of what's happened at the border. He's allowed, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the gentleman behind me who know this better than anybody, much more than 20 million people into our country. Many from prisons and jails, many from mental institutions, insane asylums, and many terrorists. And this was, when I left, this is a very famous chart now because this chart probably saved my life. But this chart is showing, the arrow on the bottom shows that this was the lowest, this was the last week in office for me because of a horrible, horrible election where I got many millions more votes than I got the first time. but didn't quite make it, just a little bit short. We got to clean up our borders. We have to clean up our elections, or we're not going to have a country. But that's my last week. The arrow on the bottom, you see, that's the lowest point.
We can't see that.
We're talking.
The sun's in the way.
That's the lowest point in the recorded history of the border. This was done by Border Patrol. This wasn't done by Trump. This was done by Border Patrol working with ICE and law enforcement. And that's what we're going to do. Again, if you take a look, interestingly, at all of the wall that's laying on its side, that could have been put up in a matter of weeks. It was all set to go. It was all cut out. And if you look at the top of the mountain behind us, it was all shaped, all ready to go. Could have been put up in a few weeks. Much of it's been sold for 5 cents on the dollar. It's very expensive. I worked with Border Patrol very closely. We worked, Brandon, we worked with all of you people. And we wanted to design something that worked. And we actually had mountain climbers. We even had drug climbers. They call them drug climbers. They can get over a wall so incredible with 75 pounds of drugs on their back. They can climb up things. And we designed this after looking at a lot of different designs. And that's an anti-climb panel that makes it very tough for somebody to climb. This was the one that they wanted. A little more expensive version, but this is the one that's a very important panel on top. And it's called anti-climb. And this was put in.
He's beyond the typical political skews, in my opinion. His lying is pathological. I don't know, man. I think they're both liars, pretty much. I mean, that's all there is to it. They're both a bunch of liars.
Here just to shade us because there's a lot of rough people on the other side. So I figured you're the media, you want to be shaded. This gets taken off. This is just temporary to shade us from potential hazard. We know about hazards. But all of this wall was built at great expense, and all it had
Let me make sure this is
erected.
the best feed.
He stood up on its end, concrete on the bottom, goes down 6 feet.
Yeah.
It also went down and shielded from tunnels because we went down about as far as it's practical for them to go down. They build tunnels on the walls. We went down pretty deep. We'd go down a lot deeper than the wall.
I would have thought that they would have set their cameras up against or put the podium more towards the wall to have shade. Instead, their cameras are focused in the sun. That seems stupid.
Made it very tough for them. We stopped that and we stopped people from coming over. But when they refused to, I built hundreds of miles of this. By the way, as far as the eye can see, you look at the other direction, as far as the eye could see. And then I'd hear people say, oh, he didn't build the wall. We built the wall. We built much more than I was anticipated to build. And we were going to build an extra 200 miles. Much of this is that, which is much more than I said I was going to do, because as we built it, they would go around the edges. So we were going further and further out, and it worked. We had the best numbers ever, and we had them largely because of the wall and also because the Mexican military helped us, which they never helped at any time. They never helped. And we were very proud of it. So we went from the best numbers in recorded history to the worst numbers in recorded history or any other history. And we have a Marxist that's running, and I don't think you can let her. This country is not ready for a Marxist president. She will never build the wall. She doesn't want to build the wall. She's only saying if she changes her mind, it's only because she wants to get elected, because who wouldn't want to have a strong border? You need strong borders and strong elections, and we have neither. But we're going to have very strong borders, and we're going to have very strong elections soon. The people are fed up. It's common sense. The people are just fed up. And you saw it. Everybody coming from the airport saw the thousands and thousands of people lined up. It looked like Lindbergh coming in from what he did at the time. Broadway, it was amazing when you see all those people it's a long drive from the airport, and so many thousands and thousands of people. The people in my car say, I've never seen anything like that. We're in the middle of an area that's not well populated, and to have thousands of people like that is pretty unbelievable. I hope you got to see it. And I hope the press rates the story fairly, because it's a story of disgrace. We had a border czar who was...
Is he going to take questions?
The border czar, she loved the title, but she didn't want to do the work, or she's lazy. And probably more importantly than being lazy, she wants to have an open border. And you say, who would want an open border where criminals can pour into our country? And all you have to do is walk up there, if you have the courage to do it, and go to that open section. Stand there for a little while. You'll be running back here very quickly. You really have to write this fairly, this story. Because you people don't want to talk about the border. You don't want to talk about the bad things that are going on in our country. We're going to end up not having a country. You're not going to have any media. We don't have media. They don't have media. They do their own media. They don't need media. But you really should cover this story fairly. Before I begin, I have some, I think, very
What is he
good
talking
words on the
about?
border and what to
Problem is they made roads through places that would otherwise be much harder to pass.
do and how to solve the problem. We had it solved. All they had to do is leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it. Just leave it. But before I begin, I want to address the fake job numbers on top of everything else, fellas. Fake jobs. The fake job numbers that the Harris-Biden administration has been reporting for the last year. Thanks to a leaker yesterday, meaning
leaker?
probably in this case a patriot, they were forced to release numbers. They claimed falsely that they created 818,000 jobs. So they said they did almost 1 million jobs, 818,000 jobs that actually didn't exist. They were phantom jobs. They're called phantom jobs. The reason they did that is because I was even a little surprised their job numbers look better because I know the economy's lousy. Everyone here knows it's lousy. These people behind me know it's lousy. We have the worst inflation, I believe, in the history of our country. And that's absolutely killing people. But it's 818,000 jobs, almost 1 million. And these are just the jobs we found out about. There's a lot of other false things that now are being looked at. That number will increase. So they reported false numbers.
I'm trying to find what he's talking about. He actually brought this up yesterday, and I couldn't find it yesterday. I did find the employment numbers that the FBI posted, but he tried to say that they were taking out major cities when they reported the employment numbers. And it was kind of true the way they did it. They were switching their formula on how they reported employment, and some of the major cities did opt out of the data points. So it was a little bit sketchy. I guess kind of what he's saying is true. He sure can't stay on topic. I don't fully understand the job thing, but his jobs had to be adjusted to. Yeah, so they basically what happened is they had a set formula how they reported jobs, and then they switched it over to a different one, and major cities weren't kind of on board with it to report those numbers, so it made it look like the unemployment rate was actually going down, and it was down under Biden, where it was kind of like not really going down. It was just the way that they reported the numbers. So that's pretty much what he's going with here.
And this isn't a revision. There's never been anything like this. This is a fraud put out by Harris and by Biden. And they were going to release the real numbers. It's called a revision after the election. But it got found out before the election. And I hope you're going to write about it. But it's a big story. And it's a story that's going to be going very far. People are very upset about it.
And this was yesterday, and most media companies are not reporting on this. They don't care.
Government officials are very upset about it. Even people that are Democrats are because it's a pure fraud.
It was hard for me to even find out what he was talking about.
Revision, you have a few jobs one way or the other, and they get it straight at the end of the month. But this one was sheltered for a long time, and they wanted to release it after November 5th. I wonder why, when it didn't really matter too much. But even then it mattered. But so I hope you're going to report it. Almost 1 million jobs were phantom jobs. They were fake jobs, just like a lot of reporting is fake. And I hope you're going to report it because people have to hear it. They didn't want these numbers to come out, and they did come out, and I really, the whistleblower or whoever it was that got them to have to do it. Somebody today, a high official said, well, we don't really believe those numbers because Trump gave them. I didn't give them. I got them from the administration, from the Labor Bureau, and these are the stats that were just let out. In fact, officially, I mean, they just came out. They were released in Yeah, officially released. Those
Yeah.
are official numbers. Has nothing.
He said they just came out and yeah.
With me, I just happen to be playing the role of a reporter for a change.
Loser.
But I hope you're going to do something with it because I think it's a serious thing. It's the same as everything else. And I'm so glad that we decided to do this. It's a little dangerous to do. I hate to tell you, you guys are in danger with the kind of weaponry that we have, but I felt it was important to do. And this kind of stuff that they put up to shield us, I'm going to make you feel not so good. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what comes through there, but at least they can't see you. But it's dangerous territory, and these people have unbelievable courage. The Border Patrol, ICE, the police, local law enforcement, unbelievable. I don't even know how they do it. They talk about, I was courageous. These people are courageous. They go through this every day. And the amount of horrible injuries sustained in fights and shootings are just incredible. Not reported, but incredible. We're here today on the southern border in Arizona where Comrade Kamala Harris, I call her comrade because she is a radical left Marxist. She wants open borders. She wants our country. I don't understand why anybody would want it, but she wants our country to be open to the world's criminals so they can come in and rape and pillage and do whatever they have to do. But she's the most radical left person who has ever run for high political office in our country's history. And by the way, the governor, who's done a poor job as governor, Minnesota, Walz, he's done a poor job, very poor job. His numbers are horrible. People are fleeing his state. I love his state. We should have won his state twice, but a lot of hanky-panky goes on there. Hasn't been won since 1972.
Hanky-panky.
Richard Nixon was the last one to win it. But every time I go in there, we have massive crowds and everything's good, but nobody seems to be able to win it. So I know why we didn't win it. People don't like to talk about it. But he's a horrible governor, has bad job numbers, bad numbers for leaving, a lot of people leaving the state. And he's insisted, he put a bill. I'm sure the sheriffs would be very happy when they hear this. He signed a bill fairly recently where boys' bathrooms have to have tampons in boys' bathrooms. I don't even like to bring the subject up, but it's a subject you have to hear about. That's what he wants. He's a radical left guy who lied like hell last night, and she'll lie tonight. We're doing a review of her tonight on Truth because
Really?
she'll lie just like the rest of them lied. They talked about what I said about soldiers. I never said anything.
That could be fun. If he is doing tweets on Truth Social while she's giving her speech, that'd be fun to actually stream. To go back and forth and see what they're saying against each other. Almost like a debate, one-sided debate, but, you know, that could be fun.
Of our soldiers. They made the story up. It was fiction. We had 26 people countering it, but nobody cares. They made up everything, so many different stories. They made up about Project 25. They've been told officially, legally, in every way that we have nothing to do with Project 25. They know it, but they bring it up anyway. They bring up every single thing that you can bring up. Every one of them was false. He brought them up. But they've unleashed a deadly plague of migrant crime on our country by not doing their job. And all of that plank and all of that very expensive wall, it's also got tremendous electronic capability inside of it. It's got wires for cameras and everything else that you can have. It's the Rolls Royce of walls, I can tell you. It's very hardened steel outside, 7,000-pound concrete inside, and rebar inside of the concrete, all different, all very hard to get through. And it's sad to see it sitting here. We have crime going on up the road. In this direction, it's as far as you can see is wall. We have no problem there, but they come in where they refuse to put it up. That was when I first realized that they want open borders. I thought nobody could be so foolish or stupid to want open borders and have the world's population, the world's criminal population pour into our country. That's what's happening. But it shattered so many families' lives and stolen so many incredible young lives. And it's also really badly hurt our black population and our Hispanic population because these people are taking their jobs. The jobs now are down, way down for the black population and the Hispanic population because we have millions of illegal aliens that are poured into our country. They've taken the jobs of African Americans and Hispanics. And that was obvious to me. Next is going to be unions. You watch. The unions are going to start going well because those jobs are going to be taken too. We're honored to really be here with these incredible people, and in particular with some grieving families. And this is a group of people that I've gotten to know. They're incredible people. They've lost a loved one, and thousands of others are out there, and they are grieving also. But they're not out with you and sitting in this hot sun. I will say this, that at least it gives us a good reason. We're doing something for those incredible people that we'll be talking about very shortly, because we can't let it happen to other people. We can't let what you're going through happen to other families. And you know what you're going through, as we discussed.
Why has he been somber and monotone lately? I've noticed that too. And it's not a good look because it just makes him seem old. And especially as Democrats are throwing at him that now he's the old candidate, it's not a good look. He needs some caffeine, cocaine, I don't know, something.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. All for no reason whatsoever. And these are hardened criminals pouring into our country. And then they always say, Sheriff, oh, the illegal immigrants don't commit crimes like people that live here. It's so wrong. They don't report them, but it's so wrong. They make our criminals look like babies. They make our criminals look like babies. That's about the only thing good. Our criminals all of a sudden don't look so tough to us, right? These are the roughest people, and they're the roughest people from all over the world. Their jails are being emptied from all over the world. Their criminals are being taken from their cities. And by the way, their crime rates are way down. Their crime rates came way down. Venezuela, all of these countries, their crime rates are down. Their prison population's down. Soon they won't have any prison population because 100% of it will be in our country. With the statement, if you ever come back, we will kill you. That's the statement they tell them. If you ever come back to Venezuela and other countries, we will kill you. But it's all over the world. The Congo in Africa, many prisoners let go from the Congo in Africa. Rough prisoners. All over Europe they come, from all over, rough sections, the jails. You have to see jail populations are way down. So we've done a lot of trips to the border over the years and told a lot of stories about border victims, including the stories of the amazing angel moms who have never been appreciated.
He's starting to come
Incredible
alive.
women, what they've gone through. They're going through a similar thing. And many of them, I asked about time, but this time, because many of them, this took place a long time ago with borders and horrible people coming in. And I don't have to tell you about the crimes, but the level of viciousness of the crime was unbelievable. But they said time doesn't heal. You know, the expression time heals all wounds. It doesn't. I spoke to some people, they say they're worse now than they were 15 years ago. And this started largely during Obama. And then we stopped it. We had it stopped. And then the first day in, they just said, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. And all they had to do is let our people that we had in place, the best people. I was listening to people like Tom Homan, who is, just an incredible patriot, tough, smart, gets it, good man, but he's tough. I've been listening to all these people. They've been friends of mine for a long time. They know it better than anybody. But the level of criminality is unbelievable. It's an onslaught of violence at a level that nobody's ever seen before. For nearly 4 years, as border czar, Comrade Kamala has overseen a nation-wrecking border invasion. This is nation-wrecking. This isn't just like, we're going to fix it a little bit later. Gets to a point where you can't fix it. She's allowed at least 20 million people, all illegal aliens, into our country, including millions and millions of unvetted fighting age men from over 158 different countries. 150. Most people didn't realize you had that many countries, right? Just recently, Kamala let in the head of a Peruvian gang who was wanted for 23 murders. Welcome to the United States of America. On her orders, Border Patrol is being forced to free tens of thousands of illegal aliens from custody week after week after week. And these are very violent criminals, too. These are the most violent criminals that you'll ever see. Every day brings another story about innocent Americans being tortured, raped, murdered, and massacred by illegal aliens that Kamala Harris has set free in our country. Don't hold them, they're told. Don't hold them, let them free. They'll behave. Well, he killed 20 people. Oh, but over here it's different. Since Comrade Harris took over the border, there has been a 43% nationwide increase in violent crime and a 60% increase in rape. And the FBI should be ashamed of themselves when they report numbers, because they, in order to keep the violence numbers down, they didn't report some of the worst cities in the country, like Chicago and others.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
What a disgrace. The FBI did that.
I found
In
that
New
yesterday.
York this June, an illegal alien released into our country by Kamala approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight in front of other people, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrist, and raped them over and over again. Over and over again. Two Kamala migrants were just arrested for the rape of a 46-year-old woman in Coney Island. I know Coney Island very well. That's where I sort of started. My office was out there. Brooklyn, throwing her to the ground and raping her with a knife to her throat. One of them had previously been arrested for raping another woman, but instead of being deported, he was released into our country and told to enjoy your life. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, a woman who was offered a ride home by two illegal aliens was instead kidnapped, held down and raped, then driven around while the illegals discussed how they planned to kill her. They wanted to kill her. They didn't want to have a witness. And she miraculously escaped by throwing herself out of a rapidly moving car, was badly hurt, but she escaped, at least. Those people came from another country, and they were very violent, with an unbelievably violent background. Violence like you've never seen. In the Bronx recently, an illegal alien who Kamala set loose into the country approached a 36-year-old woman while pretending to ask for directions before he wrapped his arms around her throat, pinned her down on a park bench, and raped her publicly on a park bench. And she said he wasn't trying to rape me, he was trying to kill me. In Michigan earlier this year, an illegal alien broke into a residence and sexually assaulted two young girls, doing tremendous damage to these two young, beautiful girls. In Virginia, a few weeks ago, a 54-year-old mother of four was leaving a convenience store when she noticed an illegal alien trying to steal her car. When she tried to stop him, he ran her down, ran her over, and left her dead on the ground. She was dead. And her family is devastated. In Texas last month, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in by Comrade Kamala shot a female police officer multiple times with a rifle. And she'll never be the same. And that's being nice about it. A few months ago, I met with the devastated family of Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student who was out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia when she was assaulted, beaten, and horrifically murdered. Kamala Harris let in the illegal alien animal who murdered Laken. This monster was in Border Patrol custody, under very strong custody. They didn't want to let him go. But under Kamala's policies, he was set free to kill. And that's what he did. Kamala let this bloodthirsty killer go free And then he murdered beautiful Lakin, #1 in her class, nursing school. Everybody aspired to be like her. She was the best student, the best everything. Beautiful girl.
All right, I'm depressed now.
Then there's the heartbreaking story of Rachel Morin. And we're joined today by Patty and Michael Morin, Rachel's mother and brother. And I met with them. We had lunch. And they're devastated at a level that nobody can really imagine. Rachel was a cherished 37-year-old mom, beautiful woman of 5 incredible children who adored their mother more than anything in the world. They loved their mom. Earlier this year, while Rachel was out on a run, she wants to keep herself in good shape, and she ends up getting killed. In her neighborhood, she was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien who was led into America by Kamala Harris and her policies of stupidity. Savage
Okay.
person
Stupidity.
who committed this heinous crime first killed another woman in El Salvador before walking across our open border. Just walked right in. They didn't have this then. He then attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles where they were very badly hurt before murdering Rachel. And the area where Rachel lived in a very different part of this country. It was cold-blooded murder. Patty and Michael, I would just, first of all, thank you for being here. I know it's tough, but they want to let people understand what's going on here because this can't happen to other parents and sisters and brothers and husbands. So if you would, I'd love you to say a few words. Thank you.
There we go. I hear what they have to say.
Please.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Absolutely.
No. Hi. I was just thanking President Trump for the invitation to come and to share Rachel's story. Rachel was 37 years old. She had 5 children. She worked. She owned a small business. She worked very hard to support her family. And the trail that Rachel ran daily was a trail that we as a family would walk over the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a very safe, small trail, very public, very open. Moms with baby carriages go down this trail. It's very safe. I was in Kentucky. We had a grandbaby that had passed away. When I got a phone call from my son, and he said, "Mom, there's somebody here that would like to speak to you." And when I said hello, the person on the other end said, "Hello, Mrs. Morin. This is Detective so-and-so. I'm the lead detective on this case. There's no easy way to tell you this, but we found your daughter's body. And if they find the body, you know that she's dead. They wouldn't say, 'We found Rachel, she's alive.'" And so they found my daughter's body, and when they found it, just recently it has come out that she was brutally beaten, raped, and then stuffed into a drain pipe. We're 18,000 miles, 1,800 miles from the border. And because of this open border, we've had not just my daughter, but we've actually had 2 in the same county that we're from, where illegal immigrants have come in and have caused rape and murder of our citizens. And the reason why I came here today and I accepted the invitation is because I really want our words to be heard, and I really want you to take to heart what we're saying. We're not here for a political stand, although we are. We're here because we're losing our moms, our daughters, our children to criminals. And that shouldn't happen. We should be taking care of our country, our people. And the only way I believe that's going to happen is if President Trump is reelected as president and we close up this border and we put policies back into place that were there before, instead of this open border thing. We're gonna end up being a third world country if it continues this way. And I hope, I hope that you would just take my words to heart, because it's devastating to lose a child, but even more devastating when you see the pictures or you see the body and you really understand what's happened to that person. So please take to heart, this is a very, very important issue. And it's one that's either going to make or break our country. It's not so much, it's about America, it's about Americans, it's about us taking and protecting ourselves and looking out for each other. It's about protecting our families. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this was a lot more sad than I thought it was going to be. This is a bummer. Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much. Boy, there's story after story like that. Also with us is Alexis Nungari and Hoamel Guevara, the loving mother and uncle of precious Angel Jocelyn Nungari. Jocelyn was a 12-year-old girl from Houston whose life was stolen by two criminal illegals that Harris freed into our country for no reason whatsoever. They were known as monsters. 2 months ago, after walking to the convenience store, these criminal migrants kidnapped Jocelyn, tied her up for 2 hours, violently assaulted her, and strangled her violently to death. Charged with Jocelyn's wicked murder are two illegal aliens from Venezuela who came across our border. Just walked across like there was nothing to it. Couldn't do that 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They were in Border Patrol custody. They were gotten, they were nabbed, and were then released into our country. Alexis, we cannot fathom your pain. There's so many people that are going through this pain. But we pledge to always hold Jocelyn in our hearts. And Alexis, I'd like to have you maybe come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
So I would love to thank Donald Trump for giving us this invitation to be here and to say a few words to the staff that's been so kind to help us in this very hard time. My daughter was just 12. She had dreams to be famous. She wanted to be a famous actor. She was so funny. She was her own personality. And it's been very hard. It's been very hard. June 17th was the day her life was taken. She was left with no clothing from the waist down, was thrown in a bayou, left.
My God.
And strangled to death.
Jesus.
I believe, yes, she was assaulted off of DNA kit that has been, but it's still very, very early, and it's still very, very raw, and it's still very, very surreal. And they had no reason to do anything that they did to Jocelyn. There was over 300 detention beds that they should have been at because they were detained and they were released when they shouldn't have been released. One had an ankle monitor, didn't stop anything. So now I have to go through the rest of my life with my son, always asking for his sister. And I just really, really, really want everybody to please take into consideration how important border control is, because we're losing very innocent people to heinous crimes that shouldn't be happening in the first place. So please, please, I really hope everybody can hear my pain, to just, please, please, he needs to be in office, and we need better control. We need to stop this. We need to stop losing our littles. We need to stop losing children, mothers, sisters, because now I get to grieve every single day. Every milestone that hits gets harder because she's not there for it. She was gonna be a 7th grader. She had her whole life ahead of her. And it was viciously taken away by 2 evil, heinous monsters. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to my words. And please, help him make a change. Thank you.
Sad stories, but I don't believe 45 has any real empathy for these folks. You must think he is a real asshole.
So Jocelyn is in heaven now, looking down on us right now. And in her name and her memory, we'll be fighting to protect every American daughter and child. That's why we're here, because this will happen and has happened by the thousands. There are thousands of people that are in horrible situations like this. As Kamala gives her convention speech tonight, she will not mention the victims. She won't even talk about them, although now that she sees us, maybe she will.
Probably not.
She'll not say their names or express remorse to their families. Kamala says she wants to talk about the future. No, these people want to go back to the safe past. We don't have a future with open borders and all of the other problems this country has. The crime problem.
I think he's a sociopath.
Just like they rigged the 818,000 jobs number, they rigged the crime numbers too. That's also been a proven fact, just came out. But she's stolen the future of Lake and Riley and Rachel and our precious Jocelyn, just taking their lives away for no reason. When I left office, I gave Kamala Harris the strongest and most secure border in American history. These people have done an incredible job. They worked with lots of others. And if you came here illegally, you got caught and you were deported or put in jail, depending on what. In some cases, we put them in jail because we didn't want, they were so violent, we didn't want to take a chance that they'd come back. But generally, they were deported and brought into countries that wouldn't accept them before me. With me, they accepted them. They wouldn't take them back, but with me, they accepted them. I said, you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't. We ended catch and release. We had remain in Mexico. The greatest policy, remain in Mexico. How good was that? Everybody remained in Mexico until they were checked out, and either they came in or not. Most of them didn't qualify. Title 42, Safe Third agreements, and 500 miles of border wall that was very, very difficult to even think about getting over, around, or under. The final gaps of the wall were about to be sealed. Then Kamala came in and dismantled every single Trump border policy and halted all wall construction. And there it sits, but much of it's been sold. This is just a small example of what it was, what it is before they lift it up. So you can see on the ground behind me the sections of wall that taxpayers paid for, a lot of money. But Kamala refused to put up, just refused. She wouldn't do it. Everybody called. I even made some calls. I said, you got to put it up. You got to put it up. But she didn't want it open. She wanted a wide open border. What Biden and Kamala have done to the families here with me and so many others, thousands and thousands of others, not only killed, also really badly hurt to a point where they'll never lead a normal life again. It's shameful and it's evil. Every year under Harris, a new all-time record of illegal immigration has been set. Every single year, our great borders are. She'll blow away Biden's reputation as being.
Title 42 couldn't legally stay in place. I'm not even sure what that is, to be honest. This is a play out of the left playbook. I can see why he did it. Yeah, exactly. Because last night they had all the people who couldn't get an abortion and all of that. So they're fighting emotion with emotion, and after watching both of their speeches, I'm just depressed. I'm just depressed now. Like, this shit is awful. Let me see what Title 42 is.
The worst president. She'll be a president that'll make him look good, just like Biden made Jimmy Carter look good. To get illegals into America as fast as possible, Harris has flown hundreds of thousands by airplane. You know, then they say, oh, well, we didn't want them to go. But then we found out a few months ago that
Title 42 expulsion is the removal by the U.S. government of a person who had recently been in a country where a communicable disease was present. The extent of authority for contagion-related expulsion is set out by law in 42 USC. Okay.
that they're flying him in over the border by airplanes to all over our country. Well, that means they do want them to come in and flying in some very dangerous people. It's close to 1 million people, we think. Close to 1 million people were flown in over the border, and she's trying to say, well,
because of COVID? Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Borders. She just started this a short while ago. She's even launched a smartphone program that gives fast pass entry to thousands of illegal immigrants, all coming very quickly. You use the smart pass and you get immediate access into our country. Can you believe this? And then they're trying to say we believe in borders. They're flying right over our heads, right into the middle states, all over. Every border, and you've heard this, every border, you look at the different states and put it another way, every state is a border state now when you think about it, because they just come right past here and they get taken to other states that never even thought of a problem like this. And those are not happy campers. According to a new DHS report, Kamala Harris also lost more than 300,000 migrant children that she allowed to be trafficked into our country. These children are gone. Many of them are dead. And nobody does anything about it. 300,000 children are missing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if that were a Trump administration? Be the biggest story in history. Nobody even talks about it, just like they don't talk about the fact that Joe Biden got $27 million from different countries. And they don't talk about that, him and his family. Just came out from Congress. Nobody talks about it. I do have some good news, though, for the people standing behind me in particular, and maybe for some of the press that wants to hear good things. The Supreme Court just ruled that you're not allowed to have illegal aliens vote. Just came out just before I walked up. So illegal aliens are officially not allowed to vote in our country.
Why would they even need a ruling for that?
To the Supreme Court. They have great courage in doing what they're doing. It's not easy, but that was one that everybody was hoping for. You know, a vast majority of people agree with that. It's a very small amount of people that don't. Who would want that? So thank you very much. And she's really provided Harris deportation immunity to the vast majority of criminal aliens living inside the United States. They've got immunity. They really have immunity. And importing MS-13 directly into our cities. MS-13 is the most vicious gang we feel. If I ask the sheriffs behind me, I think
says Attorney General Ken Paxton and 23 other states asked SCOTUS to allow Arizona law requiring proof of citizenship for voting to go into effect.
He probably considered the most vicious gangs in the world, wouldn't you say, Brandon? It's never seen anything like it. It's not even believable. I won't tell you about it. It's not even believable. As the DA of San Francisco, Kamala Harris was the godmother of deadly sanctuary city. She was considered the godmother. All they're doing is protecting criminals, which set loose illegal alien criminals rather than hand them over to ICE, who are doing an incredible job. Under a program Kamala set up, an illegal alien arrested on drug charges in 2008 was set free to enjoy job training. A short time later, that same illegal alien attacked a 29-year-old beautiful young woman, Amanda Kiefer, stealing her purse and fracturing Amanda's skull. It was vicious and horrible, and Amanda's here with us, and I'd love to have Amanda come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, more people coming here to depress me.
I'm Amanda Kiefer.
Hello. What's going on,
I feel
man?
like I belong on the stage with the folks here since I seem to have gotten off kind of easy with just a fractured skull. I didn't lose loved ones, but the night I was walking to dinner in Pacific Heights.
I'm neither, really. Glad to see someone actually is coming from Twitch for once. I never get anybody on Twitch for some reason.
It was a nice neighborhood. You wouldn't expect broad daylight for something violent to happen to you on the way to dinner. My purse was stolen, and I stepped into the street, and the car I jumped into came at me. I jumped up on the hood to avoid getting run over, and he floored it and hit the brakes. The police were great. They had caught him and his accomplice in a really short time, because I remember being on a gurney in the hallway of the hospital, and I had to ID them. They were laughing as they fractured my skull.
Jesus, these people are depressing me. Who would you want to win? I'm leaning more towards Trump, but if Kamala came out with some great policies, I'm sure she could change my mind, maybe. What is your Twitch stream? Is it better than YouTube? It's Sweep the Legs with 2 S's. I'm pretty sure Twitch only does 720p, so probably not as good as YouTube. Plus the bitrate on YouTube is higher, so it's a better quality. I live in WA. All of our voting is by mail. That's crazy to think. Hey, Chadwin Park, I see you through the screen. What? Okay. Yeah, I'm multi-streaming the chat in here so you guys can communicate with each other, even if you're on Twitch or YouTube.
What was really the worst part about it all, though, is when I found out that taxpayer money was paying for job training for this guy who avoided going to prison for the first felony he committed for jobs he couldn't legally hold. It was kind of a wake-up moment for me.
Jesus.
And I moved out of San Francisco because I didn't feel safe here.
So depressing.
And I don't think our country is going to be safe under Kamala Harris.
Story after story. Kamala has called for the abolishing of ICE, the closing of every ICE detention facility, and the...
He's saying he sees you in the chat box because I have YouTube and Twitch on there. Because, you know, if you're watching just from YouTube and you're looking at the YouTube chat box, you can't just see people from Twitch.
Releasing of some of the most vicious criminals anywhere in the world by doing so. She supports free health care for illegal immigrants and has promised to give illegals mass amnesty and citizenship, which will obliterate Social Security. Oh, Social Security is going to be obliterated by all of these millions of people that she wants to put on. And also Medicare will be obliterated. I'm going to save Social Security.
No, he sees you. He's watching you in your house.
I'm not going to touch it. We're going to make our country strong, but they're going to obliterate it. She also feels extremely strongly about defund the police. She wants to defund the police. And anytime somebody wants to defund the police, you're never going to get them back to being normal. The police have to be taken care of. They're the best thing we have going to protect us. They know exactly what's going on. When we do deportation, they know every person out there, and they know the middle name, and they know.
He didn't platform victims when he was president. I don't know about that. The elections became so weird. Trump is presented as a guy with aura, and Kamala became obsessed with black culture. Yeah, the DNC was nothing but black culture. Every person that they brought out on stage, they had to have first black person to eat a bowl of Cheerios on a Sunday morning through everyone that was out there. What's depressing? I've been in line at a fast food joint for 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't mind standing in line to vote. I'm okay with it. Ooh, thank you for the sub. With Trump versus Biden, it wasn't about fixing America or the world, but who's worse than the other. Yeah, exactly. Right now, I can't say like I'm for Trump either. I'm not in love with the guy. I lean towards Trump, probably from what I've seen so far. We're still far away from the actual election, so I don't know who I'm going to vote for, but both of them are pretty bad.
Know everything about them, and they know all of the bad ones. They know the really bad ones. It'll be a great help. We have to get the criminals out of our country immediately. Kamala is always going to have open borders. If Comrade Harris has the chance, she will allow more than 100 million illegal aliens into our country. Our country will be overrun, and essentially it won't be a country. It will be not governable. With us today are leaders of the National Border Patrol. You've known them, you've met them. I don't have to go over, but I want to just thank them for the incredible job they've done. I've worked so well with them. Paul Perez has been unbelievable. Past President Brandon Judd, unbelievable. Sheriff Mark Daniels has been incredible. I watched him on television today. He did a great job of explaining this crazy situation that we're in. Sheriff Chris Heiser. So I want to just say you're here, and Paul and Brandon, Mark, and everybody. I want to thank you so much. It's incredible the job you do. Such a dangerous job. I actually did. I came in. I met one of the Border Patrol who was badly wounded. I said, "Are you okay?" It was a while ago. He said, "Yes." I said, "What happened?" "Well, my leg is broken, my arm was broken, my back was broken, my neck was broken, my skull was fractured." He went through a list of things. I said, "That's unbelievable." When we win this November, we will end the Kamala Harris border nightmare once and for all. We'll get it back very strong. We will also end the inflation, a bad economy, and we will be respected very shortly all over the world again as we were by other countries. The choice is simple: Kamala's mass amnesty of criminals or President Trump's mass deportation of criminals. I think that's pretty easy, in addition to all of the other things. There are many other things that are equally as bad but not as obvious. With your vote, we will seal the border, stop the invasion, and launch the largest deportation effort in American history. We will impose.
Little John was at the DNC. I thought he was cool with Trump, especially after being on The Apprentice. You know, they paid him. That's why he showed up. They gave him a huge check, just like the Obamas, and that's why he showed up.
Tough new sentences on illegal alien criminals. These include 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling, a guaranteed life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking, and a death penalty for anyone guilty of child or woman sex trafficking. We'll also impose the death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers in other countries on their immigration papers. There is a statement that says, "Death for drug traffickers." Big letters, big bold letters. 10 times the size of everything else on the page. I saw it this morning. And those are the countries where they have no problem with drugs. Many of them, actually. We will also impose the death penalty for anyone killing our police, sheriffs, Border Patrol, ICE, or law enforcement officials. The death penalty with a quicker trial, not a trial that lasts for 15 years and everybody gets exhausted. We will liberate our country from the illegal alien drug dealers, robbers, murderers, gang members, and child predators. And we will make
That's my
America
Twitch
safe
name
again
right there,
for
if you wanted to look
our
at it.
citizens, and make it greater, stronger, better, more.
Also, something else funny with Trump, he keeps saying, if I was there, it wouldn't have happened. It's the weirdest thing to say. Nobody knows. Yeah, obviously, that he doesn't know. But he wants people to vote for him, so he has to be this savior.
More beautiful than ever before. And I want to thank you all, and especially our 4 very special people. 4 very special people. And sheriffs and law enforcement, I want to thank you so much, because this job is so dangerous. It's not even believable. You pull over a car, they open the door, and they start shooting you. That happened in Long Island with a great young man with an incredible family. I went there. Same thing. So we have to stop it. We have to bring our country back. We have to use common sense. You don't have to be conservative or liberal or progressive, as they like to say now. They don't like the term liberal. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We have to have strong protection in our country, or our country's going to wither away and die. We need a military. We need our great police to be loved and respected, and they will be again. Right now, if somebody does something that's a little bit on the tough side to stop something that's very bad, they end up losing their pension, their life, their car, their house. They lose their job. They lose everything. We're going to give immunity to many, many people so that they can do the law. But again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the media for being here. I hope you can report the story the way it is. It's a very sad moment for our country.
Yeah, I'm
Some
depressed.
very bad people trying to get into office, and if we don't stop them, our country has no chance of greatness. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President.
You said that local law enforcement.
Oh, he's gonna take questions.
Yeah.
How will your administration go about mass deportation of migrants across the
We'll work with the locals, and they're going to bring them to us, and we'll get them over the border, and we'll make arrangements with the countries, and the countries will accept them back. And if they don't accept them back, we do no trade with those countries, and we charge them big tariffs.
Mr. President.
Can you comment on the appearing end of RFK Jr.'s campaign? Did you talk to him in the last couple of days? Does he plan on endorsing?
I haven't, but I'm hearing reports. I have a lot of respect for RFK Jr. You know that. I've known him a long time. Very smart, a little bit different, and that's okay. But he's a very smart guy. He's loved by a lot of people, and I'm hearing that he wants to leave. Don't forget, he was treated very unfairly. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, the Kennedy name and him in particular. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, and they made it impossible. They said you have to get 70% of the vote just to qualify or something. They created standards that nobody could have met. Biden couldn't have met him. And I think he would have lost Biden, and they really treated him very badly. Then he went out as an independent, and it's a tough thing to do, independent. You know, it wasn't set up that way, the country. It's really a two-party system, whether people like it or not, Republican, Democrat.
Yeah.
And I have spoken to him in the past over the last number of months, but not recently. But there are rumors that he's going to make an endorsement. That would be a great honor for me.
Yeah, Chad, you're right. He's gonna end up endorsing Trump. It's coming if it hasn't already came today.
Great honor.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Tomorrow at your rally outside of Phoenix?
I don't know. I can't say that. But I know we're in the same state, so we're not very far away. But I can't tell you that yet. No plans have been made at
Mr.
this
President.
point. Brian?
Yes, sir. As a parent, I'm hearing these stories. You're a parent yourself. What was going through your mind when you're hearing all these just horrible stories about losing their children?
What was going through my mind is that, and I almost hate to say it in front of them, I don't know how they take it. I
Oh
don't
my
know how they
God.
can take it. You understand that? I think probably
I
most
fought
of the
back
people
years,
did.
the entire
No,
time.
no. How do you take it? How do you do it? It's, I mean, it's like devastating when you see what happened. And these are incredible people. These people are incredible people. I got to know them. They're unbelievable, and they loved like.
I read somewhere he will endorse him on Friday. It's coming. It's definitely coming. He knows he's not gonna win. He's not liked by the Democrats, obviously. So he is definitely going to endorse Trump.
As much as you can love someone, I spend time with all of them, and what goes through my mind is I don't know how the hell they take it. To be honest. Yes.
When you talked about Edinburgh, Texas earlier, visiting them, it was a big deal for those small border communities. It's a big deal when you come here. Obviously, the border means a lot to you.
A lot.
Your campaign.
Always has.
So why not support that bipartisan border security bill? And how do you get people on board with all the things that you talked about, the policies that you just laid out? How do you get people
Sure.
to come to the table?
Ready?
Yeah.
The bipartisan, and it wasn't bipartisan. They had a couple of people on the other side.
This is for you, Paul. This is what you were just asking about.
It was weak, it was ineffective, and it would have allowed, as you know, millions and millions of people to pour through, and largely unvetted. It was a horrible bill. It was a weak bill, and they don't need a bill. All Biden had to do is look to the border and say, close the border. He didn't need a bill. He knows that. They didn't want a bill. The bill was terrible. If it was good, I would have approved it. The House passed a bill before that. I'd approve that bill right now. That was a real bill. But this bill was a weak bill, and it was a shame that they got a Republican. They got somebody who's a very good person, by the way, but they got him to lead it. But it didn't make any difference. If they wanted to close the border, which they don't, they'll have 100 million people come in and totally destroy, ruin our country. If they wanted to close the border, I didn't have a bill. I said, close the border. I said, Brandon, close that border, Brandon. And what happened? He closed the border. They all did. Paul, the whole group of them, this group is incredible. They closed the border. I looked at him. I said, we don't have a bill. We don't need a bill. Close the damn border. They closed the border. They could do the same thing.
Trump better give him a candidate position. I don't know if he's going to do that with RFK. We'll have to see. Let's go, Brandon.
It's happening now, though. The encounter numbers are extremely low right now. So
No. Right now, what's happening is people are waiting to see what's going to go with the election. And wait till you see what happens after the election, one way or the other. But right now, you take a look at the numbers for the last year. They're horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And it's also election time, don't forget. They want to put on a little bit of a squeeze. All they do and all they want to do and all they have to do is say,
Closed due to COVID. Yeah, that's right.
Biden, although I'm not sure, you take a look at, nobody even knows where he is. He's on a beach someplace, but he could even do it from the beach. Close the border, and the border is closed. They will close the border immediately. That's what I did. But we had great people. We've lost a lot of those great people because they want to be respected, and they weren't respected because of this administration. And the worst person in, far worse than Biden, was Kamala. That's why I call her comrade, because she's a radical left person who really wants to have an open border. She'll never close the border. She'll never drill for oil and gas. She's not going to do it. She might do it for a couple of months. She stopped, and that's where the inflation came in. Then she went back to the Trump policy. What they don't say is that if I were there, I'd be now 4 times higher than I was at that moment. But the gasoline prices are still very high right now. But they would have been double if they didn't go back to the Trump policy of drilling. But we would have been close to 4 times higher. We would have been energy dominant. We were energy independent. They would have been energy dominant. But if I want the border closed, if I'm the president, I don't need a bill. I just have to say close the border. And they closed the border.
Mr. President, when you get back to the White House, are you confident that you can reach a consensus with Democrats and how to fix the border?
Well, I think right
No.
now you look at it, and I'm one that believes
No.
that we want to unify our country.
Not going to happen. If Trump gets elected, it's all out war with the Democrats. Let's not play games here.
But when you have an issue like this where some people, and I don't happen to believe it's the Democrats. I think it's Democrat leaders that want the open borders. I think it's Democrat leaders that say, we don't want voter ID. We talk about elections. I always start, okay, we start with voter ID. We don't want voter ID. He said, no, everything has ID, identification. They said, we don't want any identification. We don't want it. Now, there's only one reason, so we can't even negotiate after that because they don't want voter ID. So I say to them, why don't you want? Well, we just don't want it. We think it's discriminatory. They have all sorts of excuses. They don't want it because they want to be able to cheat. And we want voter ID. And we want same-day voting. And we want paper ballots. And we want proof of citizenship. Very simple. France did it. France went to 38 million votes, and they did it because they had mail-in ballots, and they were very unsafe, very bad. They had tremendous problems. And they went 2 years ago with an election and worked out incredibly. 10 o'clock in the evening, they had 37 million votes. They were all counted, and there were no problems. That's where our country should go. But the Democrats don't want to go there because it doesn't allow them to.
I heard RFK tried to get a cabinet position for an endorsement with Kamala, and they didn't respond. That sounds about right. Whoever wins, either way, they're going to get billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, they're going to be loaded for the rest of their life.
To cheat. Okay, how about one more?
Mr. President, you have a lot of support for your policies.
Today there was a manhunt going on in this county. Somebody made death threats to you. Did you hear about that before coming?
No.
What are your thoughts coming down here? Some people told me it's dangerous for you to be here.
I've heard it's dangerous, but I also have a job to do. I heard it's very dangerous. I haven't heard about that. They probably want to keep it from me. Thank you for telling me. Let's get out of here right now. No, thank you very much for saying. But no, and I have great respect for Secret Service, the job they do, including a month and a half ago when they were jumping on top of me with bullets flying right at them. So mistakes were made, and they're going to learn from the mistakes. But I have great respect. But no, I haven't heard that, but I'm not that surprised. And the reason is because I want to do things that are very bad for the bad guys. So
Mr. President,
I have heard it's very unsafe to make this trip. There were some people that really didn't want me to make it. Yeah.
you have a lot of
Please.
support.
Families and children under your mask
Yeah, we'll work on that. You know, they're missing so many children right now under this administration. Over 300,000. Many of them are dead. You know that. Many of them are dead. Many of the hostages in Israel are dead. This is why Hamas isn't talking. You know, Hamas doesn't want to negotiate very much because I think they probably don't have very many alive right now, and so they don't want.
How has nobody asked him about the ceasefire? It's like, I know we both didn't just make that up in our head. We both read it online this morning, and nobody's asking about that. They didn't ask about it in the Pentagon briefing, or any JD Vance wasn't asked about it earlier, and they're not going to ask Trump about that. That was big news today. If Trump wins, what will be the first thing they try to impeach him with? They're going to keep trying to impeach him, I'm sure. Did he forget to put on sunscreen many places on his face, his orange and pink? I think that's just his face and a little bit of his spray tan.
Want to really get into too much of a negotiation because I think many of those hostages, unfortunately, are dead. But the 300,000 children that are missing, many of them are dead. And many of them are in sex rings and all sorts of things going on. It's a terrible thing. They have done such a bad job in this government in terms of everything, foreign relations.
Man, I got people actually watching on Twitch right now. I have 6 viewers. I usually have 0 viewers on Twitch. Appreciate you guys. Nothing will ever change. As pessimistic as it sounds, I agree with you. I don't think it's really going to change much. This political corruption is too dang profitable for shareholders. Exactly. Either one of them gets elected, probably nothing's going to happen. It's going to be business as usual.
Border, crime, jobs. And today you found out that the job numbers are fake on top of everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
You have a lot of support for your policies here. Sheriff Daniels is someone that I've spoken with, I've interviewed before.
Yes.
He's very much in support of your policies. But when it comes to something like mass deportation, how would you work with blue states and blue cities that might not be as supportive as some of the folks here?
Let me tell you, they're much more supportive than you think. I've watched New York, Eric Adams. I've watched the body language. A lot of people that are in charge of that, they want to straighten it out. They can't live like this. New York has hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants in their midst. Many of them are very, very hardened criminals. And I've watched the mayors, I've watched governors talking, and it's almost like they're talking because they're demanded from Washington. Now, they want it out much more than people would understand. They want them out. They don't want to see their cities overrun. New York is overrun, Chicago's overrun. They're all, and you would be surprised. And the people, including Democrats want to have a secure border. Democrats want to have a secure vote. It's the leadership.
I hope all is well from United Kingdom. I hope all is well with you from all of these crazy videos that I'm seeing of things going on in your country. Obviously, we have this going on in America, this crazy shit, but you guys as well.
Leadership that doesn't. So I think that'll be a very easy situation to solve. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
I hope so.
Oh, there he is. And that's going to be it. I wish he would have took more questions.